Alright, welcome back to another video. It is Tuesday night. The polls closed just a week ago, and we have got results from most of the states. At this point, Joseph R. Biden and Kamala Harris have become president and vice president-elect of the United States. Donald Trump has refused to concede so far. It's unclear if he will. Maybe he will when the electors vote, or maybe he just won't. Either way, Joe Biden will be the next president of the United States, and Kamala Harris will be the next vice president of the United States. This election certainly was a crazy, crazy one. There were many things that people did not see happening that happened. So far, by the way, actually, according to this map, I haven't got a state wrong. I believe, this was my prediction. And so far, they haven't officially called North Carolina. I got Georgia wrong. That was the only one. But I did pretty well in terms of my predictions. We're kind of going to go state by state through this video. This video might be long. It's also probably going to be a little all over the place just because there's a lot to get through. But there's a few kind of general themes in this election. And by the way, there are still ballots to be counted. It looks like Joe Biden's going to win in the state of Georgia. The state can no longer pay for a recount because Joe Biden is 0.25 above Donald Trump. So we'll have to see what happens there. Donald Trump has filed several lawsuits in many states. It's yet to be seen if those are taken seriously. In the Senate, we have both Georgia races going to a runoff. I'll kind of be up front. I think both Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue are going to win those. The difference between Trump and those two is that both those two are conservatives. And where, Donald Trump did not do well in the more affluent Atlanta suburbs, there definitely was some ticket splitting. There were probably many who voted for Joe Biden, but also did for Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue. But in the state of Georgia overall, Stacey Abrams got 800,000 new voters registered. That was obviously a big difference. And also, the Atlanta suburbs going more blue. The Democrats also were able to flip Georgia's 7th congressional district, where Carolyn Bourdeaux won. She lost in 2018 by, I think, 500 votes. It was very close. So that's Georgia. Georgia, I did not expect to go blue. It's going to go blue. I said that I think it would go red between 3 and 4 points. I was clearly wrong. With North Carolina, I said it was going to go blue. With Florida, I said it was going to be close. Florida was not close. Why? Socialism. If you watched my deep dive into Florida video, I said what Democrats need to do is they need to flip Duval County. They did that, and they did that by a decent percent. I said they need to hold on in Hillsborough County. They did that. I said they need to flip Pinellas County. They barely flipped Pinellas County, but enough votes there. I said they need to flip Seminole County, which is Orlando suburbs and the city of Sanford. They did that. I said they needed to hold on in Broward County. They did that. I said they needed to do well in Palm Beach County. They did not do that. I said they need to do well in Orange County. They did that. They did well in the Tallahassee area. But Miami-Dade County was a county Democrats should have won by at least 20 points. And they only ended up winning by 7. Why? Socialism. If this election showed anything to Democrats, and if Democrats learned from this election whatsoever, they need to learn that, they need to almost ostracize the socialist parts of their party. The word socialism lost them votes in Miami-Dade County and ultimately lost them Florida. Socialism also didn't play well in Texas. The Rio Grande Valley in particular, Zapata County, this is one county that voted overwhelmingly for Hillary Clinton, if we can show, or not Zapata, Starr County, 55 points more Republican. This whole Rio Grande Valley made a massive shift to the right. I think the Democrats, I'll kind of repeat this, they need to kind of work on, getting rid of the socialists and the socialism that is in their party. Obviously, liberals and progressives are there to stay, but the socialist labels are not helping them in any states. It's just not helping them. Democrats did worse than expected in the Rio Grande Valley. Texas, I already said I thought the Republicans were going to win Texas by 4 to 5 points. They won it by 6. Ohio was an interesting state where at the beginning of the night it looked like the Democrats had a shot, but when the votes came in, Ohio was basically gone for the Democrats. I never really talked about Ohio, but the key to Ohio was winning these blue counties, or these former blue counties in eastern Ohio, particularly Mahoning, and winning these counties along the shores of the lake, so counties like Lorain, Erie, Ottawa, Sandusky. For a while, it looked like they were going to flip Delaware County. They did not. They did flip Montgomery County, so some progress there, and they did hold on in Hamilton County, and they improved on the 2016 margin, but they lost Ohio by 8 points, similar to 2018. I think Ohio is more solidly in the Republican column after this election. Typically, the way Ohio goes, the nation goes, not in this election. For other Republican states, Iowa, Democrats, it looks like the rural white Democratic vote for the most part is gone. We can see that in Iowa. Even though Democrats won in Wisconsin, Democrats used to do reliably well in the southern and eastern part of the state, mostly farmland with rural white voters. In Minnesota, they used to do well in the north. We can also see that in Republicans were able to flip Minnesota House District 7, where Colin Peterson lost to Michelle Fischbach. Peterson had held that seat for, I think, nearly 3 decades, but lost this time. He's actually one of the, because, Joe Biden's the president, Colin Peterson has good ties with all the farming groups. This is mostly a lot of farmland, rural Democrats, kind of, the Rural Democratic Party might need a resurge, but it also might be ending. Has been rumored to be one of the favorites to be Agriculture Secretary. Another one is Heidi Heitkamp. But we kind of can see across the board the rural white vote going away. In Michigan, Democrats did well. They won by about 2.5%. They could have flipped more counties. They did pretty well, though. They won in Kent County, which is Grand Rapids, and they did very well in Washtenaw County and in Wayne County. In Wisconsin, Dane County and Milwaukee County basically won it for the Democrats. They just need a good turnout, and they got good turnout. Racine and Kenosha County, which are kind of the Milwaukee-Chicago suburbs, were 2 places I thought the Democrats could have done better, but they did not. That might have something to do with the riots that happened in Kenosha, but who knows. In Arizona, the name of the game was Maricopa County, and it looks like Democrats are going to win that. The way Maricopa goes, the state goes. Arizona might, after all, end up going red, because there is still vote to be counted, but who knows. Nevada was a state that I said was going to be a lot closer than Democrats thought, and that's what happened. You would expect this to go more solidly to the Democrats since they won in 2008, 2012, and 2016. But nevertheless, it was a lot closer than most people thought, and Nevada took forever to count ballots, and they're still counting ballots. What other swing states? North Carolina it's kind of unclear what went wrong. It's unclear if it was the suburban vote Democrats couldn't get, if it's unclear if they couldn't get the African-American turnout they needed. It's kind of unclear what really happened in North Carolina. Close result, but even though there's still some ballots coming in, I expect Trump to win this. Two states that are kind of no longer swing states, Colorado and Virginia. Colorado went to Joe Biden by 13 and Virginia by 10. There was a House seat in Virginia that Democrats had their eyes on. It was House District 5, but Bob Good ended up winning that seat. The last state and the most important state is Pennsylvania. I said this was going to go Democrat, and it went Democrat. Democrats got the suburban Philly vote. They got the Philly vote. They got good results out of Allegheny County. They ended up flipping Erie County, and they did decent in, Lackawanna County versus Scranton and some of these other counties. I thought they might have won Luzerne County. They did not. I thought they could have maybe won Berks and Lancaster. They did not. But pretty good showing for Democrats in that state. So that's kind of all the swing states. Another state that's clearly not a swing state anymore. This was close in 2008, but Missouri, Donald Trump won by 15 points. This is no longer a swing state. Indiana, also not a swing state anymore, despite the fact that Obama won the state in 2008. Again, there's still votes to be counted, and we'll have to see. If we go look at the exit polling, remember how I was talking about the Latino vote in South Florida? Donald Trump improved with Latinos. He also, I believe, did improve with African Americans. I think Hillary Clinton won about 90% of the African American vote. Joe Biden only 87%. Especially, I showed that article about how, in particular, young African American men are not going Republican, but small numbers of them are going to the Republican Party. With the Latino vote, Democrats did not do as well as they did last time. This number was 29% in 2016, 32% today. So a lot of these New York Times exit polls are quite good and quite extensive. If we go over to the Senate, this was extremely disappointing for the Democrats. They were competitive in so many states and lost in so many states. And remember I said Georgia, I project they will lose both of those seats. Democrats put $200 million into races in South Carolina and Kentucky and lost by 35 points combined. Whereas a state like Maine, where if you go to 538 and look at Maine polling data, every poll since July suggested that Susan Collins was going to lose her seat. Remember I said in my prediction, I think Susan Collins is going to win. Susan Collins did win. The Democrats definitely could have put more resources in that state. I said they were going to win in a state like Iowa. Joni Ernst won by a convincing margin. Hopefully she now knows the price of soybeans. Alaska doesn't look good for Al Gross. There's still a vote to be counted, but Dan Sullivan likely will hold on here. Montana, Steve Bullock, disappointing result, lost by 11 points, especially because he's a quite popular governor in that state. Texas, I didn't really think MJ Hagar was competitive, but I thought she would do better than this 10 points we're seeing. North Carolina, I thought Cal Cunningham could have won, and he did not. This is another big failure for the Democrats. North Carolina and Maine, and maybe Iowa too, really should have put more money into these races. They did put a lot of money, but the polls obviously lied, because some polls had Cal Cunningham winning by 8-10%, and he's going to lose this race. He already conceded. Democrats also lost in Kansas. I thought that would be closer. It was not. So overall, a very disappointing result in the Senate for Democrats. Remember, I said Michigan was going to be close. It was. John James outperformed Donald Trump in the state. He did not win. He's now run for Senate unsuccessfully twice. Maybe he'll take a shot at the governor's race in 2022. But who knows? He lost by, I think, 5-6 points to Debbie Stabenow 2 years ago. Lost by a respectable margin to Gary Peters. So we'll see. Minnesota, I said, wasn't really going to be competitive. It was a little more competitive than I thought, but Tina Smith won that race. This was kind of another scenario where, the socialist aspects of the Democratic Party did not help. We're also going to see that in the House of Representatives. I did think that Democrats were going to get to 50. I thought they were going to win in North Carolina and Iowa. They did not. When all is said and done, it looks like Republicans are going to have a 52-48 advantage. So really what Democrats are thinking is, okay, that's Collins and Murkowski and Vice President Harris to flip, and maybe Mitt Romney. In the House of Representatives, there's a lot of interesting results. But the main interesting thing is that Republicans did well by playing candidates, by playing a more diverse set of candidates. Of the 9 flipped seats so far, and there will definitely be more, 7 were female. In Florida, you had a Cuban woman and a Latino man flip those seats. In South Carolina, Nancy Mace, the first ever female graduate of the Citadel, female candidate, won that race. In Iowa District 1, Ashley Hinson, female, won that race. In Minnesota 7, Michelle Fischbach, female, won that race. Iowa District 2 is so crazy close, it's not even funny. 89% of the vote in. Marinette Miller Meeks, the Republican, leads by 48 votes with nearly 200,000 votes cast, or 400,000 votes cast, which is absolutely crazy. We'll have to see what ends up the result here. Oklahoma 5, female Republican, won. New Mexico 2nd, female Republican, Native American, won here. In California 48, this is Orange County, Korean female Republican won this seat, and in California 39, it looks like another female Republican will win that seat. They will join a Congress, I forget which district it is in Washington, but there was another Korean female elected in Washington. Democrats won in, so Georgia 7, I said, and we already knew they were going to win in North Carolina 6 and North Carolina 2 because of that unconstitutional map. And it looks like, there's going to be swing votes in the House. Democrats got to 218, but I don't think they'll get much farther. Right now, just California 25, like 150 vote lead for the Republican here. California 21, this would be a pretty disappointing loss for the Democrats. They flipped this last election. Of the 3 uncalled House races in California, it looks like Republicans can win all of them. It looks like they can win in Utah as well. Ben McAdams losing by 2,000 votes. It looks like who knows with this Iowa seat? That's insanely close. They're going to win Alaska. They just got to count all the votes. In New York, it looks like Max Rose is going to lose his seat. It looks like New York District 2, this was Peter King's seat. It looks like Republicans are going to hold on there. Lee Zeldin likely going to hold on there. We'll have to see about this. This race is pretty close. New York House District 3. We'll have to see. Andrew Delgado, I think, is going to be able to hold on here, and I think Sean Patrick Maloney will hold on in New York 18. New York 22 is a pretty good... the Republicans could easily flip this. Claudia Tenney could, Republican female. They did a great job running female candidates and running a diverse set of candidates. They kind of saw what the Democrats did in 2018 and kind of replicated that very well. They're adding a record number of women to their caucus, and they are making the Republican Party much more diverse, adding more Latinos, adding a Native American woman, likely adding a African American man from Utah, 2 Korean Americans from California. But in the House, again, it was what hurt them in the presidential election and what hurt them in the Senate election. The label of socialism and some of the very more progressive policies. In particular, I read a lot of articles about how the whole defund the police idea really did not do well in a lot of these districts. And we'll have to see in 2018 or in 2022 how the House goes. In 2010, if you don't remember, in reaction to Obama's election, Republicans in the midterms after he was elected, Obama was elected in 2008. In 2010, Republicans flipped 63 seats. I believe it was either 63 or 61. So we'll have to see how well Republicans do in 2 years. One could expect that they would be able to flip a lot of seats, but we'll have to see. So really interesting results across the board in the House, Senate, and the presidential election. Joe Biden is the next president. Kamala Harris is the first female vice president, the first African American vice president, and the first Indian American vice president. She's done what Geraldine Ferraro and what Sarah Palin tried to do. So obviously very momentous moment for the nation, very inspiring moment for the nation. I expect that 2024 will feature many women on both sides of the aisles in the presidential primaries. That's kind of it for this video. I know it's kind of all over the place. We kind of just looked at results from the presidential election, Senate and House. Big takeaways, Democrats held the blue wall. That was the strategy from the beginning. They went full steam ahead with that strategy. A lot of people were like, they should go to Texas, they should go to Georgia, they should go to North Carolina, they should really invest in the Sun Belt, and they thought, nope, we lost by 16,000 votes in Michigan, we can flip that. We lost by, I believe it was 40,000 votes in Wisconsin, we can flip that. 17,000 votes in Pennsylvania, we can flip that. And that's all they needed, and they got it done. So that was the strategy. I don't know if that strategy is going to work in 4 years. We've kind of seen the working class white vote go more and more to the Republicans, but we'll have to see. I might do another election video when I'll do some Georgia stuff, just because there's those 2 Senate seats. I might do a final video addressing the 16 uncalled House seats. For some of these, it might take a while just because they're going to be so close. I'm just stunned by the results in Iowa, too, so far, even though there's still 11% of the vote to come in. Takeaways in the House, Republicans got more diverse, and this played well. They also kind of took advantage of people's dissatisfaction with some of the more socialist policies, and some Democrats supporting things like defunding the police. There's tons of articles about that in the House of Representatives. There were a lot of seats that Democrats could have flipped, and they ended up not being to flip those. Georgia's 7 was kind of the one exception. And in the Senate, kind of more of the same. Democrats put money in the wrong places. And again, the whole socialism narrative didn't help. What Democrats can learn from this election is not to lean into the socialist narrative. They're going to have to get more moderate in these first 2 years of the Biden administration. Cabinet appointments are going to be key. Not appointing people like Elizabeth Warren. Like, that's an easy attack ad for the Republicans. Every cabinet appointment you can almost think of like a 30-second ad for the Republicans. Every bill Joe Biden legislates is a 30-second attack ad for Republicans. So they just need to be strategic. The map in 2022 in the Senate does look pretty good for Democrats. So we'll go through that. But yeah, obviously very exciting to have a new president and the first female vice president. and this has just been a crazy, crazy election. And it's not over yet. There are still Georgia runoffs, and there are still uncalled House districts. So keep watching the news. That is all for this video. As I said, I'm going to do a Georgia video looking at the Senate race. I might do 1 or 2 more videos analyzing this election. I might talk about the House races in the future. We'll go into cabinet stuff, maybe. And then we will look on to 2022, because there's a lot of interesting stuff there. All right, that is all for this video.